Okay, I think I'm on. Okay, I think I am on. Very cool. Hey, first and foremost, I wanted to say I am sorry. I know I was supposed to be here about 20 minutes ago. I did want to address that and also apologize if anyone was waiting around 20 minutes ago. I had a meeting that ran a little long, and again, I apologize for that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. It's been a little while since I've been back, so I'm really excited to answer some questions for you. If you don't know who I am, my name is Paul David. I am obviously one of the mentors here in Ask a Millionaire. My company is Identified Talent Solutions. I actually started this back in 2012 part-time. Basically, I did it part-time while I was working on my regular, full-time job, and I did it on the side. And in 2014, I decided to take the plunge and go all in on it. And gosh, 6 years later, I'll tell you a little bit about it. 6 years later, we became, I think we crossed over about $30 million in sales in the last, since we started. We were named 4-time fastest growing private companies. And we're one of the Inc. 500 companies. We scaled our company in the first 3 years about 1,384%. It made us a 334th fastest growing company in the nation. And the year after, in 2018, we were awarded best places to work. So I'm really proud of the seeing Sean's comment here, and he's calling me a TikTok guru because that's what I've been doing, some TikToks while I've been quarantined. But yeah, so that's our company. We're a staffing and recruiting firm. We staff for very large corporations. We work with a lot of the Fortune 500 companies. We provide them temporary workers and also direct placements, executive search. We also do what we call RPO, which is recruitment process outsourcing, where we take their whole entire recruitment department and outsource that, and we handle it with us. Or we do certain projects, so we scale up a sales division, or we scale up a nursing division, or what have you. Been in recruiting for the last 20 years of my life. Been an entrepreneur for the last 8. So have a little bit of background, and I'm really excited to get in here and answer these questions for you. There's a lot, and I wanted to make sure I address them completely. So I might be looking down because I made bullet points on every single question that you asked, because I wanted to make sure that I got it done thoroughly for you, so you're getting value out of it. Okay, so here we go. The first question is by Gerline, I believe. She asked, I am in our business as the owner. How do we develop more confidence, especially when we speak to vendors, employees, and ultimately customers when we are selling? Practice, right? That trait is practice. You just got to do more of it. And there's certain ways that you can do it. First of all, I think you can probably role play, especially role play with someone that you trust, that will give you honest feedback, right? So there's even till today, I'm still role playing with either colleagues or my employees, just to make sure I'm continuously sharpening that skill and honing honing that craft, because it never goes away, right? So I mean, you not to say that it never goes away, but it never. You can never be too great at it. There's always something to learn. So role play with people that you trust, that will give you honest feedback. That's important. You can read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That's a really good book. That's all theoretical. So those are just things that, I don't think there's anything better than actually practicing, but those things are really helpful tips. I also wrote down here, you got to make sure that whatever you're trying to convey to either your vendor or to your employee or to your customer, you know what it is. You solidly know the information that you're going to deliver, right? Because I think a lot of times when we do that, we haphazardly approach a situation, but we're not thoroughly we don't thoroughly know the information that we're going to present. So you want to know the information that you're trying to present, and you want to make sure that you're conveying that. So that's really important. So anytime you're talking to a customer, a vendor or an employee, you want to make sure that you understand the information that you're trying to convey. What else? Oh, you know, I think one of the best ways that I've improved my communication skills and understanding if I'm delivering what needs to be delivered is simply ask. You know, like with vendors and customers, what I do with them is I ask them, so how is my level of service, or how is the service that I'm providing? Am I communicating everything that I need to communicate to you? I mean, there's no better person to get feedback than the person that you're actually communicating that information to, right? So if they're not thoroughly getting the information that I'm trying to convey, then I need to switch it up. So that's important. With your employees, you want to ask them, hey, am I communicating? Are you getting everything that you need from me? Am I supporting you the way that you need to? Because the truth is they're going to tell you, okay? So those are some of the suggestions that I would give. Like, really practice, role play, because the more you do it, and oftentimes you do it. So there's something that happens. The more you practice, the better you get at it, right? I think we all know that. The more you practice at something, the better you get at it, the more confident you get at it. And here's another thing, is that when you're doing it, don't be scared to fail. Don't be scared to trip over an obstacle, because the truth is, you have to kind of embrace that. The more challenges that you put yourself in, and the more times that maybe you stumble and fall and you might not get it right, that's when we learn. So once we start learning, then you can kind of see those things a mile away as you get to the next situation, because the more experiences that you have, the more practice that you have, the more ammunition that you have to when a situation similar to a situation you've been in before comes, you already know how to deal with it. So practice, 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 get feedback, educate yourself. You know, when you read the books, I call it power up. You got to power up and get more information in you. And simply ask the employee or the customer or the vendor, hey, how am I doing? So there's no harm or foul in that. Very cool question. Thanks for that. Okay, next one. It's from Zach. I sell high-end security cameras for residential and commercial real estate properties. Some of my competitors' products are cheaper, but inferior in quality. What do you do to position yourself and your company against companies like that, and what resources do you use to do it? Okay, so marketing and branding is absolutely important in this case, right? Because people are both price sensitive and they're value sensitive. And in this case, since price isn't your strong point, you got to go hard on the value. You got to let them know why you're better, why your services and products are better, why should they use you, and how is that going to benefit them in the long run, right? Because at the end of the day, cheaper doesn't necessarily mean better, but you have to make sure that you can compare your competitor that's selling the lower price, cheaper, inferior quality to why it's more important for them to get the right product at the right time, that your service is going to be better, you're going to be with them along the way in case something happens, and why that is of value in the long run, and why that will actually save them more money in the long run. You don't sell in value here, right? It's like Nordstrom's trying to sell against Kmart. It's just you don't do that, right? So you stay in your swim lane and you make sure that you sell against the weaknesses of your competitor. Again, the weaknesses: we have far better quality in our security systems. We have far better services in their security system. If what you're looking for is a price discount and budget is what's really important to you, we're not the guy. But if you want to, in the long run, have peace of mind that you're getting the best security system possible, and if something happens, we're going to be there for you. Now, that's selling the value. Again, people are price sensitive and they're value sensitive. So if you're not great at price, you sell the hell out of that value, and you make sure that you sell the hell out of your competitors, making sure that they understand why your value is much better than the price that they're going to give you. Okay? Let's see. Moving right along. Okay. So Lauren, I'm a real estate agent and an interior designer. I know what I want to build. I know I want to build my own brokerage and be a brand that other agents join, and I help them. If you're going to develop a plan to make this happen, how do you do it? And what are the things that I can do to be sure I'm continuously working on that goal and not getting caught up in the day-to-day? Well, Lauren, the day-to-day is actually part of the plan that you want to create, right? Because if you're trying to scale your business, you need to make sure that you can replicate it, right? And in order for people to replicate your business, it needs to be detailed enough for them to follow the process, for them to be successful, right? So again, think about that. If you want to scale your business, the day-to-day minutia, the day-to-day task, the day-to-day activities are super important to put in your plan. Again, scaling and growing your business is all about how to replicate your business, how to replicate your efforts, right? Because you're going to take what made you successful, and that's what you got to do. You got to understand what made me successful in all the different areas of my business, what made me successful in sales, what made me successful in design, what made me successful in admin, what made me successful in operations, and then you put that in a detailed step-by-step basis. Again, if you're trying to replicate your business, you want to make sure the plan can be followed, right? It's detailed enough. Sean connected me with Rick prior to this live video because I wanted to make sure that I had the most up-to-date Google browser, right? And make sure that I can do this correctly. And he gave me this detailed plan. Scroll here, do this, do that, do that. And it was, that's all he had to give me. He didn't have to sit behind me or anything, just gave me a detailed plan. So if you want to scale your efforts and if you want to replicate your efforts, it needs to be that detailed. So the day-to-day is absolutely important and you need to be able to do that, right? So like with us, we get it down to how many calls do you need to make a day? How many dials do you need to make a day? How many people do you need to talk to a day? How many clients do you need to talk to a day? So it needs to be that detailed so that they can learn, right? So again, to make that plan, it's not like you're getting distracted from it, but you definitely have to make a detailed plan that can be easy enough to follow so it can replicate your efforts, therefore scale, okay? Next question by Vanessa. Hi, Paul, when you're working with startups, let's say you have a startup entrepreneur that is specialized in a field like me, which is Facebook ads, or you're a Facebook ads expert. As I look to scale, what are some of the go-to strategies I can use to build my team? Well, Vanessa, I answered that question is going to be the answer to that is going to be very similar to Lauren's question. So just refer back on that. Again, if you're trying to scale your team, you want to make sure when you're, again, scaling anything is a replication of your own efforts, right? When you're self-employed, you're doing all the efforts by yourself. If you want to scale that and you want to have another one of you, you need to be able to replicate that. And the only way you can replicate that is making sure that you give them a process that's detailed enough that they can follow. So it's very similar. Just kind of back up the recording here and then listen to what I said on Lauren's question if you need more detail on that. Then you asked the question was, for salespeople, what recruiting sites are the best these days? By far, the best recruiting site is ZipRecruiter and Indeed. Those two sites, especially Indeed, dominate the market, right? If a job seeker is going on there, they don't go to Career Builder, they don't go to Monster anymore, they don't go directly on the website of the company. Indeed picks all that up, and also ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter also has the function of posting straight onto LinkedIn from your company's site. So those two by far dominate the industry when it comes to job postings, Indeed and ZipRecruiter. They do get kind of pricey, but they're the best in the business, so they can do it, right? And they have the biggest reach. You also asked, what's good for admin roles? Well, it depends. Those two sites are really great for admin roles too. However, if you're more price conscious, post it on Craigslist. They still get a lot of like admin roles. You can post for I guess the hourly wages. Light industrial. Those are still really great sites for posting to find talent. Okay. Moving right along, guys. Allie asked, hey Paul, I'm looking for a low cost or even free legal resource for my startup. To look over contract agreements and other miscellaneous documents. Do you know of any low-cost options out there? Any pros and cons of using them? Yes, there is something called Biz Counsel, B-I-Z Counsel. It was actually founded by the guys that started LegalZoom, right? So, LegalZoom, you get on there, you can do an LLC, do an incorporation, do a nonprofit, do a divorce, whatever. So they actually started something called Biz Counsel, and what it is, it's a membership, it's a subscription every month. I don't know how much it costs. I used to use them, that you pay every month, and I believe they will review up to 10 pages of a contract. That's included in the fee. And if you need anything more, then you need to review larger contracts. There's a cease and desist or whatever kind of legal issues that you have that go above and beyond those like 10-page reviews. It just seems like you just need contract reviews, so I think this might work for you. However, if you do need more and you need something more robust than that, they will discount the fee, the attorney fees for you. So again, it's Biz Counsel, B-I-Z Counsel. Again, they were started by the guys that started LegalZoom to help businesses that are already running, and that don't need that complete retained legal team, I would say. Okay. Gabriel asked, I have a business partner and I'm looking to buy him out. What are some of the things that I need to take into consideration as we don't have an official buyout clause? I'm looking for any experience that you can share to help me minimize how much I have to pay him and maybe even finance. Well, the first thing I would do if you're looking to buy him out is you get someone to audit the business, right? You want to know how much that business is worth. How much liabilities is there? How much assets are there? So get someone that can audit the business, that can look at the books, that can look at your assets, that can look at everything, and basically tell you how much it's worth, right? It's like an appraiser for a house. So get someone to audit the business. Second, your partner. Your partner is probably going to want a multiple attached to that buyout, right? So if the company is worth $100,000, you're going to pay $50,000 because he owns half of it. A lot of times, many times, there's going to be a multiple attached to that. What I basically mean by that is they're going to times that particular dollar amount that the company is worth right now, and they're going to put a multiple on that figure on your future earnings, right? So like sometimes you always hear people say 10x, 10x. Well, it's like if I sell a business now for $1 million, I have a 10x multiple on that. So really, if the business is worth $1, we're going to sell it for 10. So that's something that you need to negotiate too. So if your negotiations go without too much hiccup and you can finalize a deal, then I would hire an attorney, just draft the paperwork for the sale. But if there is negotiation and there is back and forth, then you're probably going to have to retain separate counsels so you can have that negotiation, and so that both of you guys can look at the contracts together, right? So it really depends. You're going to have to, depends on how the outcome of the whole process is going to depend on how much money you want to you're going to have to put into it, right? So if everything is amicable and everything is fine, then it's not going to cost you too much. But if there's negotiation involved, then you have to bring on people that, obviously it behooves both of you to protect you and to protect him or her. So again, it's really simple. Get someone to value the business, have someone audit the business, value the business. If generally they want a multiple, but hey, you won the lotto if they don't. Negotiate on the price of the sale, whatever asset distributions, all those kinds of things, and everything is negotiable. If everything's fine, hire an attorney, draft the paperwork, buy them out, done, right? But if not, you might have to hire two different separate counsels so you guys can work together on it, okay? Hopefully that all works out. Vinco asks, how would you build rapport with someone that doesn't speak the same language and uses a translator to help him communicate? Well, Vinco, I've actually never dealt with this situation before, so I'm just going to give you my best opinion. If the person that I'm talking, assuming that the question did specifically say what was the motive or what you were trying to do with that person you were talking to, but I'm assuming that you're trying to sell something to that person, right? So if we don't speak the language and we're translating, I would try to get to what his needs are as fast as possible, and for me to come up with the solutions for those needs or for those problems that he has as soon as possible. So the small talk and the little, like, what we usually do to build rapport doesn't get lost in translation. I would try to get to the heart of that situation and come up with a solution as fast as possible, right? Because we're not speaking the same language at that point. So it's like, think about if someone wants water and he doesn't speak your language and they're trying to do sign language, you don't chit-chat with him. You say, hey, what do you want, right? And how do I fix it? So that's kind of what I equate it to is if you can't communicate with them, effectively because of the language barrier, then I would really just try to get to the heart of the problem and present him or her the solution as fast as possible. And then the chit-chatting can go after that. Emmanuel has the next question. What practices are best used for developing discipline? As well as, how do you effectively use 24 hours in a day? Well, discipline is a skill, and like any other skill out there, it takes practice, right? So you have to consistently practice on bettering yourself with this skill of discipline. And how do you do that is, well, I'll say how I do that is I set a schedule and a task for myself every single day. What are the activities and what are the tasks that I need to create? What hour do I have to do that at? And I basically plan out my entire day. And I don't deviate from those things, right? Unless something really happens, but I don't deviate from that things. Like 6 o'clock, I get up, I read for 30 minutes, I exercise for another 35 to 40 minutes. After that, I take a shower. Then after that, I start replying to emails. And it's so you break up your day to make sure that everything that needs to be completed in that day is handled. So it's a little bit of, half of it is practicing that skill, the skill of discipline every single day. And then the other one is putting the mechanics to work, which is scheduling and planning out your day so you're accomplishing the tasks that you need to do. And that's tasks like including breaks, playtime with your kids if you have them, walking your dog. Put that all in there, because what happens is that's really what discipline is. It's the ability to take what you need to do and all the schedules that you need to have and all the tasks and activities that you need to have and complete it, right? So that's what I would do. Practice, 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 that skill of discipline, and also make sure that you're scheduling and planning out your day so you're attacking the task and the goals and the objectives that you need to hit on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And okay, so Denzel has the last question. He says, good afternoon, Paul. This question's coming from a vulnerable place, as our big brother Sean identified with me yesterday. He says, bless your heart, Sean, and spirit for doing the call on your birthday. Sean, happy birthday. I'm a terrible friend for not wishing you happy birthday on your birthday, so I apologize completely. Little bit of a backstory. There's a psychological condition called compassion fatigue, where you as a human being get smacked around so much turmoil, stress, and headache and pain, you'll find yourself emotionally exhausted. But to keep business moving forward, you sort of detach yourself from the emotions so that you can make logical decisions and not impulsive ones. Only problem is, if you find yourself approaching everything with all logic, little to no emotion, which can potentially come off cold-hearted, offensive, jealous, envy, standoffish, impersonal, etc. When you're really just separating yourself from the emotions so that it doesn't affect your decision-making. Here's the question: how do you stay level-headed enough mentally and emotionally as business owner, but also present enough as a human being mentally and emotionally to express your authentic thoughts and or feelings in the moment when you're also experiencing compassion fatigue? It's like an internal tug of war with being the poker face professional and empathetic executive. So here's the truth. I mean, we're all human beings. We all hurt, and we all have down days, and we all have obstacles that really affect us emotionally. My best advice to you is to be authentic. And the way I can personally answer this is, I think some of you guys know my story. I started my business because of the death of my wife, right? My wife died of cancer in 2014. I was $250,000 in debt. We battled cancer for 4.5 years. I became a single dad of a 4-year-old, right? So talk about a whirlwind of things that were going through my mind and having to start a new business and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, we're human and we can't get away from those hurts and those pains. But you know what's really, really powerful is to be authentic about it, you know? And that being authentic about something doesn't mean that you're less masculine or you're not as capable or anything. Being authentic is just that. Hey guys, I'm going through a rough time right now, right? It doesn't mean that you don't lose your leadership. It doesn't mean that you don't lose your direction. It just signifies the fact that, hey, you know what? I'm also human, right? So it's important to understand that whatever you're going through is, one, it's okay to go through, and it's okay for other people to know that you don't have to go into detail about what's going on, but it's important to know that, hey, I'm kind of hurting right now, right? And I think, you know, if you tell people that, generally they rise up to that occasion, you know, because you're being honest and you're being transparent. And that's really what I believe running an effective organization, running an effective family, running an effective friendship, running an effective anything is all about. You got to remember that an organization or a company is still made out of human beings, right? It's still made out of human beings. So we don't have to be like Superman all the time. You just have to be as authentic as possible. So, you know, I would really accept the fact that whatever you're going through sucks, right? And it's okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when you accept that and you don't fight the fact that you're hurting, then it's a lot easier to move forward from it, right? It's a lot easier to move forward from it. You're not continuously putting up this mask of like, hey, you know, everything's fine, everything's fine. You're just being authentic for who you are. And you know, it's not one of those things that you can detail. It's just one of those things that, hey, once you accept the fact that I'm hurting, then you can kind of move forward from it. And you know, it's not for me, and this is my opinion, I never had a problem telling people like what was going on. But at the same time, I knew that I need to still captain this boat and I had to move forward from it. So, you know, and honestly, if you're hurting that bad and if that's that much fatigue, tell your team that you just need a couple days or you need a week. I mean, you're no good to anybody if you're burning on fumes and you know, you're going to crash. It's actually going to, you know, taking a week off or taking a couple of days off to reset, mentally reset, spiritually reset, emotionally reset. You know, I was on another call earlier, and I'll just kind of leave this with you guys, is that I think as individuals, we have these 4 sides, and it's like 4 different tires on a car. It's an emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical, right? And all those 4 tires on the car needs to be inflated correctly, or the car is not going to be working properly. So let's say you're completely spiritually, emotionally drained. How effective do you think you're going to be? So you have to be cognizant of that and make sure that you're really catering to having a balance. Because if you're not a balanced human being, you're not going to be a balanced husband, wife, friend, CEO, leader, whatever. You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So it's okay to take that time to kind of decompress as well. Hopefully that helped. But other than that, hey, those are the questions that I got. I really appreciate them. I think they were really, really great. Again, I really apologize for not getting to the mark on time. I do value everyone's time here. And, you know, again, I wanted to address that and apologize for being about 15 minutes late. I look forward to getting back on again and answering additional questions, you know, in the next month or so. But other than that, I hope you found value in this segment that we have here, and I hope it helps you really propel your business and gives you ideas on what you should do, especially during these very difficult times. But you know, with any difficult time, there's a lot of opportunity, so we just need to find that. Okay. So other than that, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.